and actually demonstrate this thing that we have talked about. So right now I'm logged into my CentOS 8 machine. Just as a reminder, your certification exam will be based on Red Hat 8. So even though the commands are exactly the same, whether you are using Red Hat 8 or Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7 or CentOS 8, however, it's a good idea to just practice with what you will be taking your exam with. So let's just man the user add command, and that displays, um, it explains what the command does, and it gives you all the options um, that you can use. So it's always a good idea to read through the manual pages. This is the manual pages of the user add command. And you just press Q to get out of that. And let's just do user add. First of all, let's just cut the passwd file. Etc passwd. So these are all the users that exist on this server. You see that the last user that was created is called student, and that is us who created the user when we installed the server. And there are the rest of them are just system users. These are built-in users that that different modules in the system use to perform system functions. So you can see that all of them have the shell as sbin no login, sbin no login, which means that nobody is supposed to be logging into those accounts. So we have student here with the bin bash shell, which means if student were to log in, he will be his default shell is gonna be bin bash. And we have also the root user, which has a user ID of 0, and his shell is also bin bash. Apart from that, all other users, this one actually says shutdown. This is the shutdown command. If you just type shutdown and press enter, you want to shut down your machine. And this is the system user, which has the job of performing that function. Alright, so let me just add a user. First of all, let me clear my screen. User add user 1. Okay, so user 1 has been created, and now if I tell -1 etc password, I want to see the last line in the file etc password, because I know if it's gonna contain the user that I just created. So you see it's user 1 and a user ID 1001, a group ID 1001, and the default home is /home/user1, and the default shell is /bin/bash. So if you don't specify any options with the user add command, it picks these default values from somewhere. So if you cut etc defaults user add, default, okay. So these are the values. So you can see that the default shell is bin bash. The default skeleton is etc_scale, and the default home is created under /home. Okay, so if you create a user and you don't assign a home to that user, you don't assign a share to that user, and you don't point to a location where it has to copy the skeleton files from, then the user add command is going to get the default values from here. It's going to create the user's home directory /home. It's going to assign a share of bin bash, and it's going to copy the default skeleton files from etc. However, you can override these default values by specifying them and pointing them to its value when you run the user add command. So for instance, I can just make a directory and call it /accounting. Okay, so I have here accounting, and I can make another one and call it engineering. And now if I create a user account for an accountant, I can say that I want the user's home directory to be created under /accounting. And I can create a user who is an engineer and place his home under /engineering. However, if I don't specify it, it's gonna just place the user under /home. So let's try that out. Let's give a comment and say more Paul. So a comment is used to specify the user's full name, and then -d /accounting /mpaul, and then mpaul. Mpaul. Okay, so it's complaining that it cannot create that directory because I spelled accounting wrong. I just need to add a C. I just need to add a C and make sure the spelling is right and press enter. Okay, so it did create the user Paul. However, it could not create the home directory because I spelled it wrongly the first time. So if I tell -1 etc pass wd, oh, it actually did. You see, this is accounting spelled wrongly, and the comment that I made and the shell, the default shell. So I can create another user and I can place this user in the engineering, under the engineering directory, and I will do Anna and Anna. Okay, now if I tell it's a password I have Anna created under engineering. So let me just assign a password to Anna. Pass wd is the command, and then Anna. Anna. Okay, school 1. School 1. Okay, the password has been assigned. Now I can just switch user. Su is the command to switch user. Dash Anna. And now I'm logged in as Anna. And if I do pwd, I'm placed under /engineering/Anna directory. So that is how you can create users in Linux and assign them their different attributes. So apart from the manual pages, there is also the help. There's also help. So if you do -h, user at -h, you can do -h or you do --help. Like here, it says what? Display this help message and exit. So -k, if you don't want the user at command to copy the default skeleton files to the user's home directory, maybe you have skeleton files that you've created and placed in some other location, then you can use the -k command and just specify that new location that you specified. And there is the -g. Small letter g is used to specify the group's ID. The GID of the user. And capital G, that's small letter g, is used to specify the primary group of the user, and capital G is used to specify additional groups of a user, because a user can actually belong to more than one group. So you use small letter g to specify the primary group. For example, if somebody is an engineer and at some time is also performing some managerial function, then that user can belong to the engineering group and the management department at the same time. So in that case, the primary group is engineering, and then additional, you will specify that with small letter g, and then additional group will be management, which you specify with capital letter G. Okay, and that is it about user management. Also important is the -u. That's the UID of the user. So in Linux, let me just tell without the -1. Let's look at the last 10 lines. So the first user that we created on this system during when we first installed it was student, and you can see that it was assigned, that user was assigned a user ID of 1000. So when you start creating user accounts in Linux, it starts assigning by default. It starts assigning user IDs from 1000 upward, and it goes on like that. The next one is 1001, the next one 1002, the next one 1003, and that goes on and on and on. Okay, but you can change that. You can change that by using the -u option. For example, right now, if I create a next user with default values without specifying -u, then the system is going to assign it a user ID of 1004. But I can decide that I want to create a user. I know that the system will assign it 1004, but I don't want it to be 1004. I want it to be 2000 or 5000 or 1128. Then in that case, I can use the -u option and just put the UID that I want to assign to that user, and in that way I will override the default that the system was supposed to assign. Alright, so that is it about user management, guys. So I don't know, maybe I should find some assignment. Okay, let me just give you an assignment. Create okay, before this assignment, let's just talk a little bit about group add. Okay, so the way that you add a group is group add. For example, if a group does not yet exist in your system, and you can check the groups that exist by cutting the etc groups file. Etc group. So these are the groups: SSSD, cockpit, flat, all of that. User1 is a group, import is a group, mana is a group. So those are all groups. So if you create a user and you don't assign it, you don't make it a member of any group, then the system is gonna create a new group named after the user and make the user the only member of that group. So that is exactly what happened here. That's why you see groups with student, user, one, import, because when we created all these users, we did not specify them to be members of any group that already exists. So the system created groups with their names to place them inside, because every user needs to belong to a group. So so in order to have a group, for example, we were just talking about accounting and engineering departments. So you want to add a group add accounting, and group add engineering. Okay, so now we have those two groups. So these are the new groups that we just created. Now you can create a user. Let me just create user 1 and let's say user 2, user add user 2. I can use -d to specify the user's home directory /engineering /user2, and I can do -g to specify the primary group of this user, and I can say that I want this user to be a member of the engineering group. And I can do $G to specify additional groups. Maybe this person is an engineer and at the same time is also an accountant. So I will do accounting. And you can also specify these groups by their GIDs. So instead of typing engineering and accounting here, I could just put 1004 and 1005 and it will work exactly the same. And then I will just do user 1. User 2 is what I want to create. And press enter. What did I do? User add. Oh, yeah. This should not be here. This should always come at the end. -m. Okay, I did spell engineering again. I did spell engineering again wrong. Let me just do user 3 instead. 3. Engineering. Okay. And the user has been created. Tell FC password. Okay, so this is user 2 who was created and placed in here, and because we did not spell engineering correctly, we had to do it again, and we basically did this. So if you now do ID user 2, ID is just saying show me the identity of this user. So it says the user ID for user 2 is 1004, and the GID is 1005, and it belongs, that the primary group is group 1005, which is engineering, and it belongs to two groups, engineering and accounting. And you can also delete users. Deleting users is straightforward. There is even user mode. Okay, so if, for example, for user 2 that I did not spell correctly, I can just do user mode and I specify the correct value. And then okay, so this modification is supposed to move my home from under this, which does not exist because the system did not create it. It's supposed to move my home from there to the new home that I specify, which is this. However, since this directory does not exist, that movement is not possible. That is just the warning that I got here. And now if I do ID user 2, now user 2 belongs, the primary group is correct, and if I tell etc pass wd, user 2 is now correct. It did not move the home to the new location. However, it did create a new home in the new location. Okay, so you can modify, you can just, if you create a user and you make a mistake with something, you can always just do user mode and specify the correct value and just end with the username of the user and press enter, and that will totally modify whatever setting that you did not get right in the first place. And there is also group mode that works in the same way. Okay, you can modify user groups also like that. just specify the group, the value that you want to change, and the name of the group. So if you do -h, these are the values. So n is -n is the is the new name. For example, if you want to change the name of the group, so you will do group mode -n, you specify the new name, and then you specify the current name, and then that group's name will be changed to the new name. Okay, and there is userdel. And this will delete a user. Okay, -arrow means remove home directory. So if I just do user there, user 2, let's say user 1, user 1 has been deleted. Okay, user 1 is no longer there. But if you ls/home, if you list the contents of home, the home of user 1 is still there. So you have to go and manually delete the home of user 1 after you've deleted the user. If you did not use -arrow when you did the deletion. So in order to remove the user, because sometimes you can hire somebody at a company to do some work, and after they have done the work, their contract has ended and they go away, you have to delete their account. However, sometimes you want to keep their files, the files that they generated when they were doing that work, or the files that they were working on when they were working for your company. So in that case, you don't want the user to log in while their contract has ended, so you delete their account, but you want to later on go back and have a look at their files. So you just delete the user you just do the user there and then the name of the user to delete the user, and in that way their home remains and you can go back anytime and look at their files. However, if you don't want to keep anything about the contractor and you want to delete everything at once, you can do -arrow, and that will delete the user's home directory. So if I do userdel -arrow user 3, that will delete the user account of user 3 and also its home directory. So if I press enter, now user 3's home is supposed to be under engineering. So let's list the contents of /engineering and see whether user 3 is still there, whether the home of user 3 is still there or not. The home of user 3 is no longer there. Okay, so right now we only have the home of Mana. So that should be it about user management. And so for your homework, I want you to create a user account for Team Jordan of the finance department, and place his home in the, let me just say, under slash finance. Assign him a password, school one. So that should be your homework for today, and we will have a look at that in our next class and continue the discussion from there. All right, so have a good weekend, have a good week, and I will try to post another video because the next thing that we will be working on is storage. So we will be dealing with storage management, and before we start that, I posted 2 videos today about RAID. And RAID is basically a way of creating redundancy in the drives, in hard drives, so that data is not lost in case one hard drive goes bad. So I have one video. The first video talks about RAID in general, and it specifically explains RAID 1, RAID 0, 1, 5, and 10. And the second video explains RAID 5 and 6. So take a little bit of time and watch the videos and get yourselves ready for the next class. Thank you and have a good week, guys.